Welcome to episode 139 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman, coming to you Friday, August 18th. A lot of stuff going on. Rutgers women's soccer won their first match on Thursday, 2-0 over Holy Cross. Riley Tiernan, Allison Lowry scored. Emily Mason was back in action. She was nominated for the Mac Herman Trophy Award watch list today for Player of the Year. I have a full post up on the game recap with highlights and all that. We know Rutgers wrestling announced a Virginia Tech home match, which we kind of knew was coming. I have a lot more wrestling coverage coming very soon with a new contributor. We'll announce that soon. Also, Rutgers women's basketball just closed out the overseas trip 3-0. I have a full recap coming. I'll have I think tomorrow, tomorrow night, I'll put out a podcast episode on full takeaways of the trip. Definitely take, some of the results, grain of salt, or just in stride is probably the better way to put it, based on the competition and rotations and all that stuff. But there's some very specific takeaways I want to touch on that are telling for the season to come. So look out for that podcast. I'll also have a podcast coming out tomorrow night, Saturday, doubleheader. So you could, probably be out late, maybe early Sunday morning, breaking down Greg Schiano's takeaways from the second scrimmage, which takes place on Saturday. So both of those coming out. And then next week, I wanted to give a preview, and this leads into my episode for today, which I'll get to in 1 second. So I'm going to be at the beach next week. Full disclosure, I will be around. I will be covering the site. I'm not going to be on the usual grind with work and the site. So I'm going to have 10 episodes ready to go Monday through Friday, doubleheader, 10 positional previews for Rutgers football with my old friend and former contributor at On the Banks, David Anderson, who I think is the best Rutgers football writer that I know. No disrespect to anyone. He's just his mind is he analyzes film the best I know, and we go in pretty heavy. Going through all the roster for each position group, concerns, upsides, potential, what we think is going to happen, all that. So expect that 2 a day. You'll get 2 podcasts, probably do morning and afternoon, in terms of positional previews for Rutgers football leading up to the following weekend, which will be the final scrimmage, and then the following week, which, believe it or not, will be game week. So I'll have that coming. I'll have the 2 podcasts this weekend coming, talking about Schiano's reaction to the scrimmage and also men's basketball takeaways. I'll have a recap out. This is Friday, late afternoon. It'll be out as soon as this video is over, once I get all the final stats and everything like that. But this episode, I wanted to touch on hope. Hope Me Too October. So many years, we've had so much hope, and people get angry and pissed off by all the August optimism that turns into September sorrows. It's happened time and time again, especially in recent years, where Rutgers has opportunities. We're all very high on things, and they suffer pretty bad loss in September. And not that this season is over, but it certainly dampens the season and dampens the ceiling for the program in that particular season. Now, 2 years ago, 2021, they were 5-5 in November after that win over Indiana. And I remember really harping on that. That was the latest in the season. They had been at 500 or better, I think, since 2014. I didn't have a chance to go back and look it up, but I'm pretty confident in that statistic, which is pretty remarkable. So this year, the schedule is front-loaded. They have to take advantage. I will say, I think if they don't get to 4-1 in September, and pressure, not pressure, whatever, if they don't get to 4-1 in September, I think the idea that they can get to 6 wins in a bowl game, it's very slim, very slim. And I'm so micro into this season already, just in terms of, all these positional breakdowns David and I went through, all the articles I'm going through, all the data I'm looking through, just all the things I'm, trying to find out. They got to get through Northwestern first. And, I'm starting to realize week to week, really are taking it 1 week at a time. But that being said, Rutgers has to take advantage of this early schedule. And it's going to be tough to do that. And some of the reasons why: gelling on offensive line, getting the receiving core on the same page, and being able to produce with so many new faces. Wimsat's own development with accuracy. Sam Brown, how many reps is he going to get week one? We don't know. He's healthy. He's back from his injury, but we don't know how many reps he's going to get. I think I am very high on the running back group as a whole, with Manungai, Aaron Young. Al-Shadi Salam's got some playmaking potential. We'll see about him. We talk about that, obviously, in the positional preview. But I think that trio is going to be massive in terms of the first few weeks. And then maybe, it's the type of thing that Sam Brown just gets more and more carries as the season goes on. Knock on wood, we'll see. But I think that obviously the offense has a long way to go, has a lot of progress to make, and they have to hit the ground running, so to speak, in some respect early on to beat Northwestern, who, is obviously coming in chaotically. A lot of question marks there, a lot of depth issues. Ben Bryant scares me at quarterback. I won't lie about that. And, listen, for us Rutgers fans, I mean, why would we not be terrified of that game? That has the makings of just, a horror show in terms of the circumstances, everything Northwestern's dealing with. They were 1-11 last year. Everyone's hopeful for Rutgers this year. And that game could be just, just don't fall behind. That's what I say. I'll have plenty leading up the week, and I already have a great guest lined up to preview that game for the Rutgers side. Have had him on before. But in terms of winning that game, it's everything, right? You lose that game, the whole trajectory of the season, the whole mood of the fan base, everything is just, the air is let out of everything. So you got to win that game. Then you got Temple at home the next week. Got to win that game. Almost lost it last year, won handily 2 years ago. Got to win it. I don't care what the score is. Just win it. And then I think you have the swing game of the season, September 16th, Virginia Tech at SHI Stadium. It is over High Holy Day weekend for those that celebrate or that are Jewish. So I wonder how that will impact attendance. But that's got to be the game. Hopefully you get there 2-0, and then you got to take advantage of that game. You get that game, you go 3-0. You go to the Big House with some confidence. I don't think they can beat Michigan, even though it's been close the last 3 years. But you're whole. You sweep the non-conference, and Greg Schiano's done a really good job of doing that since he's been back. They got to sweep the non-conference. Then you come home, you got Wagner, you're 4-1. One of the worst FCS teams there is. So that's my corny phrase for today. Hope me to October. Just get to October with a chance. And then in October, you're at Wisconsin, tough game. Michigan State at home, and then at Indiana. I mean, being in the Big Ten and having the non-conference schedule that they have, which is not, the easiest, but it's nowhere near the hardest. You have two, you have one Power 5 team on there, but you get Northwestern, Michigan State, and Indiana. 3 as winnable Big Ten games as you're going to get, all on the schedule in the first 8 weeks. And then you have your 3 non-conference games, Virginia Tech, Temple, and Wagner, all at home, as winnable as it gets. Now, Michigan State is debatable in terms of, that is the hardest of those 6. I think Virginia Tech is hard too. I almost think Virginia Tech and Michigan State are in that category as terms of winnable, but certainly, I mean, I guess you could classify it as toss-up, where Northwestern, Wagner, Temple, you should absolutely win. Indiana, at Indiana, makes it harder, but they won there 2 years ago. They beat Indiana last year. Indiana might be improved this year, but you gotta have that. That, I would say, is, there's no gimme games, right, other than Wagner. Temple and Northwestern, you have to win. Indiana, I think, is a, it's a matchup game. I'd say it's pretty much 50-50 because it's on the road. And then Michigan State and Virginia Tech, I'd say those are 50-50 too. I don't think Michigan State's going to be great. But But can Rutgers take advantage? Last year I stand by this. They should have won at Michigan State. If the defense had played like they were capable of, they would have won that game. I think they can win that game. But again, it's all about momentum. Wisconsin is going to be tough. I think Wisconsin is going to be much improved. But listen, Rutgers has a legitimate chance based on the schedule to go 6-2. Is it likely? I'd say no. Winning every winnable game or game that you should, excuse me, is very hard to do. Having everything go right, injury-wise, everything, to go 6-2 with 6 winnable games all crunched in is not going to be easy to do. It's possible. And I think that that's their path to a bowl game. Sure. Could they win at Iowa in November? I mean, it's not the craziest idea. I don't think it's probable, but listen, it's not rocket science. Rutgers has a chance against teams that don't have explosive offenses or look to throw it 50 times a game. That's why even though Michigan has been loaded the last 2 years, they're not looking to throw the ball 50 times a game. When they went into the Big House 2 years ago, they had 4 3-and-outs in a row because Michigan was trying to run the ball, and Rutgers kept their offense off the field and made it a game. That's why they do so poorly against Ohio State, who just shreds them with talent and passing, and who knows this year. But my point is, Iowa, you got a shot. Who knows what state that program is going to be in mid-November if Kirk Ferentz's son, Brian, if the offense is a disaster again, it could be a mutiny in Iowa City. You never know. But Rutgers has to be healthy enough, the defense has to hold up enough, and the offense has to be decent to give them a chance. And then you have Maryland last game of the season, which, listen, you never know. 2 years ago, right, they were down to the third-string quarterback. They were injured across the board, and Rutgers barely won, but they won. So, in a perfect world, yeah, there's eight potential winnable games out there. They're not going to win 8 games. I don't think they're going to win 7. Can they win 6? I think if you do, it probably means you go 6-2 and then you lose your last 4. But hey, who knows? You go 6-2, you get your bye week, you lose to Ohio State, you go to Iowa City 6-3 with hope. Now we're hoping into November. That would be something. And then, you come home, you lose to Penn State, and then you get, that game's on the road. And then, now I'm confusing myself. And then Maryland. So what I hope is that this team can just give us hope for hope, because that will lead to, the longer they can keep hope alive, that means progress is being made, and we as fans will see that. And listen, I know it's the 4th year. I know everybody wants 6 games or bust, and otherwise they want Sean on the hot seat. Sean's not going to be in the hot seat unless, I don't know, something catastrophic happens, which I still don't see. I think you could debate it there. He's got, it's $4 million a year. He'll have 4 more years remaining, $16 million. So even if they go 1-11, God forbid, right? I mean, who's paying off the $16 million and then investing into a new coach that you're going to need to? It's not happening. I don't think it's happening. So he's not going to be on the hot seat no matter what. Will fans be pissed and upset? Sure. Of course, rightfully so. But how fans feel and the reality of the situation isn't always the same thing. I don't think they're going to go 1-11. I don't think they're going to go 8-4. I think you're looking at anywhere from 4-8 to 6-6. Where can they go? It's all about starting off and winning those first 3 games. And that swing game against Virginia Tech is absolutely massive. They have to win that game. But it all starts with Northwestern. And there's certain things to like about this team. There's certain talent upgrades for sure. There's a lot of question marks, mostly on offense. But I also, the defense, how good can the defense be? How good can they be? Can they be elite? I don't think they can be elite. I think they could be very good. But if they could be very good to elite, you could win some 17-14 games, and that lowers the bar for what the offense has to do for Rutgers to be successful. So I know it's a bit of a ramble. I'm kind of fired up right now. I have a lot of episodes coming up. I hope you tune in. I hope you like them. I appreciate everyone reading and watching all my content, The Scarlet Faithful. But Rutgers, here we are. It's August 18th, right? We're 2.5 weeks till the season starts, and we all have hope. How long can this team continue that hope? Let's get past Northwestern. You get past Temple, Virginia Tech, monster game at home. You go to the big house, you come back, you get Wagner. So, but that Michigan State homecoming game, I mean, if they are 4-2, Michigan State coming in, that is just that's about as big of a homecoming game as Rutgers has had in a long time. And the environment, I'm hoping, would be just awesome. It should be, right? That's the other thing. This team needs support. Fans need to show up. I know Labor Day weekend, Sunday, brutal, absolutely brutal. Then you have the Temple night game. That's actually fun. And then, then like I said, you have the Jewish holidays for the Virginia Tech game. That's not great. But, hopefully still a very good turnout. Then you have Wagner. But then that Michigan State game, homecoming. If they can get to 4-2, keep hope alive. Michigan State, Mel Tucker coming in. That would be, I mean, that to me, it's not just about the record, right? Let's root for an enjoyable season. That would be an enjoyable development. Michigan State coming in, Rutgers 4-2. Who knows what the state of Michigan State will be at that point? But maybe they can, put an axe into their season and chop them down. And Mel Tucker is in serious, he's catching strays all over the place, catching heat. Sorry, it's Friday. Just in terms of them losing at Rutgers, and that would be fun. That would make the season fun. And then you're gearing up for at Indiana 5-2. I mean, how fun would that be? It's not just about what the record's going to be. It's not just about results on the field. That all matters above all else, but it's how the fan experience is too, right? I mean, we've rooted for so long and for so many teams and been disappointed, which is part of sports. And this program has struggled for a long time, since 2014. I mean, every year has been tough. And there's been so many years, like I said, in September, it's September 15th, it's September 20th, and there's not a lot of hope left. Shiano's tenure certainly been better, had winning records into October the last 2 years. But, last year, it didn't feel like that team. I should say in October, they had hope. And they had the Iowa loss and the Nebraska loss. Iowa was the end of September. Nebraska was, I believe, something like October 13th or something like that. And that's when the air went out of the room. That loss that they should have won. So that was mid-October. So can we get past that point? Can we get to that same weekend, Michigan State coming in for homecoming, and then the next weekend at Indiana? Can they be 4-2 going into those two games where they're playing for a bowl game in October? That's what I'm rooting for. Hope into October. Thank you for listening and watching once again, and I'll talk to you soon.